Christmas isn't just a time to decorate your house, to spend time with loved ones, and to open long-awaited presents. Christmas is a time to remember that salvation doesn't come from within, it comes from above. To remember that infinitely better than the magic of Christmas is the miracle of Emmanuel. To remember that God was not and is not untouched by the pain and suffering of this world. To remember that Jesus isn't just part of the Christmas story, but Christmas is part of the Jesus story. To remember that there is no grace without a cross and no cross without a manger. To remember that Jesus doesn't just want us to remember what he did, but to join him in what he is doing. So this year, let the lights remind you of the light of the world who came into darkness for us. Let the gifts remind you of the greatest gift of all. And this year make your heart like Bethlehem and receive the King.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Christ, whose birth the angels sing. Oh, come adore on bended knee. Christ the Lord, the newborn King. Whom the choirs of angels praise. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid, while our hearts in love we raise. Gloria, 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 today. Yeah.
three people that are probably familiar to us all in the Bible, and that would be the three wise men, we would call them, or the three kings. Let me read a verse to you from Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. And the verse says this: when Jesus was born, some wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. What were the wise men doing? Why did they come to Jerusalem? I guess what they were doing is they were searching for something. They were searching for a truth that they believed that they would find when they arrived in Jerusalem. And searching for truth isn't a part-time job. It takes everything you have. And the wise men teach us in this Christmas story the amazing dedication that is needed to find the truth. And if you remember in the Bible tells us that when you find the truth, you'll know it, and the truth will set you free. You see, the wise men were willing to go to whatever length to find that truth. When Jesus was born, some wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. Thinking about these wise men for a moment, you can assume that the wise men travelled for many miles from the far east, the Bible tells us, to the Middle East at great expense, their own expense, and they did it for one reason: to find Jesus. We're familiar with the Christmas story, and we know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, which is just 6 miles from Jerusalem. And at that time of Jesus' birth, Jerusalem was the spiritual center of the world. And all the major religious leaders of the world were in Jerusalem, but none of those people that were in Jerusalem for their religious festivals, none of them were there seeking Jesus. It's interesting that only the people, if you like, that were on the outside, the wise men from a completely different culture, were the only ones that were looking for Jesus. King Herod, the Bible tells us, missed the baby Jesus, missed the whole idea of who Jesus was. He was threatened by Jesus for so many unreal and unclarified reasons. So did the business leaders of Bethlehem that joined together for all of these festivities that were going on. I'm thinking about it, if people like that, at that particular time, with all the signs that were on display that Jesus was to be born, how much more do you think it's possible that you and I could be in the same particular place? Overwhelmed by all the activities, overwhelmed by all the hustle and the bustle, but forget, in the midst of everything that happens during the Christmas period, forget to look for Jesus. I think it's significant that we and the Bible call these three kings, these three men that journeyed from the Far East, call them wise men. Because I think realistically, wise men look for Jesus. They were willing to make I guess it's estimated they were willing to make possibly a 4 or a 5 month journey to trip across scorching hot deserts in order to find the baby that was born in Bethlehem, in order to find Jesus. If you think of it in this way, their own expense, the long, hot, sticky journey for 4 or 5 months, it tells us about those wise men that they were serious about seeking God. They were willing to do whatever it took to find Jesus. And that's wise. It's what we need to do as well. It's what you and I need to do. Because there's so many things that are temporal and don't last very long in this world. But a heart for God and the God of your heart living within you will last for eternity. We can't let anything get away in the way of our search for God. We can't let the trimmings and the trappings get in the way. It's the most important achievement that you can discover in the world. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl that is so valuable we'll sell everything in order to get it. Let me read just that little parable that Jesus shared with us in Matthew chapter 13 and beginning at verse 44. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, He hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all that he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. It seems that there is a real sense that when you find a truth, when you find a treasure, when you find something that's so valuable, you're willing to sacrifice or to get rid of everything else in order to receive that. It seems the wise men from the east understood this long before even Jesus spoke that parable. We need to go there. Doesn't matter how much we cost, doesn't matter how long it takes, we're going to find this baby, this Jesus. The wise men, and you and I, if we are wise, we will be willing to give up everything that we have in order to worship Jesus. They were willing to give up the comforts of their homes for a long, tough journey because they had the right motive. They were searching for Jesus. They were searching for Jesus because they wanted to worship him. Question for you this morning, church. What would you give up in order to worship Jesus? What are you willing to lay down? What are you willing to focus on? Are you willing to focus on, well, I'm too busy to attend church. I'm too busy to read my Bible. I'm too busy to pray because I've got so many presents to wrap, so many cards to write. I've got to get everything together for the Christmas meal. And I've got all of these things to do. And yet somehow we forget that the whole reason for the season is Jesus. Will you put him in the center of your thoughts? Would you put him in the right place within all the activities? Yeah, have the activities. Have the Christmas meal. I love the Christmas presents. I love the Christmas tree. I love to see the presents under the tree. I'm excited about getting up in the morning and unwrapping presents. I love all of that myself. But you and I need Jesus to be at the center of everything that we do. So I just want to lay a quick challenge before you all this morning as we come to this Christmas season. What is the most difficult thing in your life to give up in order to be wholeheartedly centered on Jesus and serving him? What holds you back? What is the thing that prevents you from seeking Jesus and giving your whole heart to him because he gave his whole heart and life for you? What makes a relationship with Jesus so valuable that it's worth giving up all the other things? It's worth giving up almost everything to love him, to serve him, and to worship him, and to see what the real meaning of Jesus is, and to remind ourselves and our families and our friends that Jesus is the reason for Christmas, and all the other stuff is great on top of that.